of America, and they don't like most of the Trump voters because they are Americans. And De Niro, how stupid is he without a script? Isn't that amazing? I used to think, wow, that guy's brilliant. But once you take the words away from him, he is so stupid. Then when he says, impeachment will make America great again, and everybody's, how intellectually deprived he is. He's a coke-addled simpleton, without a script. It is hysterical.
Greg Gutfeld didn't just clap back at Robert De Niro. He brought a verbal wrecking ball to a cardboard tough guy. In under 5 minutes, Gutfeld shredded De Niro's self-righteous Hollywood act, turning decades of rehearsed rage into punchlines, sharper than De Niro's last film reviews. It wasn't a debate. It was a one-man roast, where Gutfeld used wit, facts, and that signature smirk to expose the bluster behind the bravado, and De Niro was left speechless.
Last night, an elderly, confused man went missing in New York. Luckily, a band of self-satisfied elitists found him babbling on the street, threw some pants on him, gave him a stage.
Oh my God.
I'm going to say one thing. Trump.
It kills me. Talk about persuasive. Really, I was on the fence about Trump, but then I decided to really listen to one of the great generational leaders of American pop culture. And the clenched fists at the end, that really drove it home. It looked like he was pressing a 2-pound weight in a Jenny Craig commercial.
Oh my God.
Look at it again. It's so cute.
Greg Gutfeld didn't come to play. He came to peel the bark off Hollywood hypocrisy, and this time, the tree in question was none other than Robert De Niro, the self-pointed moral compass of the entertainment industry. The man who thinks shouting, "Trump," in a tuxedo counts as public service. And, Gutfeld. He didn't need a red carpet, just a sharp tongue, a sharper brain, and about 3 minutes of basic logic.
Robert De Niro's 29-year-old child, Aaron, has come out as transgender. When the press asked her for comment, she said, "You talking to they, them?"
Thank you. If you're enjoying this video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. It started, as it often does, with De Niro trying to audition for the role of America's angry conscience again. Another interview, another appearance, another crusty theatrical tantrum that made you wonder if he's trying to win an Oscar or a seat at the DNC. There he was, spitting venom like a man personally offended that anyone in America could form an opinion without his permission.
And the star of Dirty Grandpa, Robert De Niro, getting censored by The View after raging like a bull who saw a red MAGA hat.
And they might think that it's going to make their life better, or they just want to, excuse my French, literally, it's almost like he wants to do the worst that he could possibly do to show this country. His
Jesse, I find that he's smartest when they drop his audio.
Enter Gutfeld.com, collected, wearing that trademark smirk that says, "I know this is going to get me yelled at on Twitter, and I'm fine with it." He opens with a jab. De Niro's become less of an actor and more of a very loud yelp. Review in a human suit, and not a helpful one either. One of those all-caps rants about a Starbucks lid being on crooked. The panel laughs. Gutfeld isn't done. I mean, it keeps going.
They can't see it themselves, and they're not surrounded by people telling them that they have a problem, and they lack self-awareness because everybody either tells them they're wonderful or wants to sell. So he has no clue what he's doing, and he's upset over the emotional nature. His anger is emotional about Trump. It's nothing practical.
It's fascinating. De Niro played legendary characters who were complex, conflicted, and deep. Now he's reduced to playing one character, a bitter old man yelling at the sky like the weather personally owes him an apology. And this wasn't just Gutfeld tossing insults, no. He was holding a mirror. And what he showed America was something even funnier than a punchline. The reality that Robert De Niro, once the poster boy of cinematic cool, had somehow transformed into your opinionated uncle who ruins every Thanksgiving by quoting MSNBC like it's scripture. Gutfeld continues, "Look, I loved De Niro in Taxi Driver. I loved him in Goodfellas, but I'm starting to think the real acting was convincing us he had range beyond grumpy guy with clenched fists, because now, every time he opens his mouth, It's like watching a parody of himself written by a politically obsessed high school drama club. He leans in, lowering his voice slightly for effect. The guy said recently that he wants to punch Trump in the face. Punch in the face. Punch in the face. This from a man who hasn't thrown a punch since choreographed fight. Scenes required 6 stuntmen and a CGI budget.
The real story is how accusations of Trump's nutty behavior always ends up with the accusers acting nuttier. De Niro calls Trump crazy as he goes crazier. Adam Schiff calls Trump a liar as he makes up quotes. Dems talk about undermining institutions as they try to undermine an election. But when asked for reasons why Trump shouldn't be president, all Bobby had were sputtering F-bombs. His resistance had run out of script.
Honestly, if De Niro ever tried to hit someone, his shoulder would file for early retirement. The studio bursts into laughter. Greg shrugs innocently, as if the brutal truth just happened to stumble out of his mouth. And let's talk about courage, he says. Real bravery is speaking out against actual threats. But De Niro, he's ranting against a president who isn't even in office anymore while surrounded by people who agree with him and cheer like he cured cancer every time he swears. That's not bravery. That's karaoke with political Tourette's. The best part, the media treats him like some sort of rebel, as if being a millionaire actor yelling the same things everyone in his industry already believes makes him Che Guevara with a SAG card. Please, De Niro's idea of resistance is yelling at a teleprompter while wearing $4,000 0-cent shoes. Greg shakes his head, amused.
Americans fought and died so that we may enjoy the freedoms guaranteed to us by a democratic government. A government that, as President Lincoln said, of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Under Trump, this kind of government will perish from the earth. I don't mean to scare you. No, wait, maybe I do mean to scare you. If Trump returns to the White House, you can kiss these freedoms goodbye.
You can kiss these freedoms goodbye. Have you ever noticed how these Hollywood types always talk about the people? But when's the last time De Niro waited in line at the DMV, bought his groceries, or took a flight in coach without threatening to sue the pilot for breathing too loudly? He takes a sip of coffee and raises an eyebrow. De Niro says Trump supporters are dangerous. Dangerous. Meanwhile, this guy starred in movies glorifying mobsters, assassins, and psycho. But suddenly, real danger is someone in a red hat asking for lower taxes. Fascinating moral compass. Gutfeld's not just roasting, he's dissecting. Pulling apart the layers of celebrity outrage is like peeling a very loud onion. And if you don't nod along, congratulations. You're now the enemy of decency, according to a man who once starred in a movie called Dirty Grandpa. The crowd erupts again. Gutfeld grins. And have you seen De Niro in interviews lately?
Idiot is the president. The guy is a fool. Our government today, with the prompting of our baby in chief, has in chief, I call him.
That's some reliable source you got there. This is what moms call bad language, or what producers call great TV. The plan, get an irrational figure at peak derangement and goad him into snapping. It's like cabaret for the chronically obsessed.
He doesn't talk, he grumbles. He mumbles. Every answer sounds like a raccoon arguing with a leaf blower. You ask him a simple question, and he acts like you've personally declared war on his espresso machine. Gutfeld finishes his rant with a flourish. Here's the truth, Robert. De Niro isn't angry because of Trump. He's angry because people stopped pretending his opinion matters. He's mad because, somewhere deep down, he knows he peaked in the 90s and now gets invited to political panels only because Sean Penn was busy. He leans back and smiles like a man who just cleaned house. De Niro thought he could step into the political ring and throw punches. And if Robert De Niro ever hears about it, he'll probably yell into a camera, storm off a set, and demand justice all, while someone else quietly Googles what the ratings for Gutfeld are compared to De Niro's last 5 movies. Because in the end, Greg didn't destroy De Niro by outshouting him.
De Niro graced the knitting circle in hell known as The View, where he tried to link random thoughts into a sentence. Joy was there to wind him up, since he's played some of the most unredeemable characters.
You have played some of the most really unredeemable characters. Travis Bickle. Travis Bickle was a psychopathic taxi driver. Jake LaMotta, who used to beat his wife, and he was in The Raging Bull. Is Trump worse than they are?
To me, he is. He has no understanding that I can see of the outside world other than anything around him. He has no idea of what his purpose in life is as the president should be, and that is to pull the country together, to be for the people, to heal wounds, not to open them up and pour salt on them.
De Niro clearly has thought about this, more so than his career. His choice of roles is now down to cinnamon and lobster.
He did it by doing what De Niro used to be great at, telling the truth through performance. Except this time, the script wasn't written by Hollywood, it was reality. And De Niro, he wasn't the lead, he was the punchline. Of course, here's an additional 700-word script that picks up right where the previous one left off, keeping the tone hilarious, sharp and engaging, all leading to a captivating conclusion. And here's the wildest part. De Niro genuinely believes he's dangerous, not in the "I once played a violent sociopath" way, but in the "I read a headline on Twitter and now I'm a revolutionary" kind of way. He goes, "Look, I get it. De Niro wants to be relevant, but at this point, the only thing he's resisting is the passage of time and the temptation to yell at clouds." This is a guy who once demanded artistic integrity. Now he's doing sequels to movies that shouldn't have had prequels, and he's mad at politics like it's the reason his last film flopped on arrival.
Instead, he's obsessed with these hypothetical what-ifs that Trump is going to keep hold on to power. None of these things are true.
The panel couldn't stop laughing, because it's not just funny, it's painfully accurate. Then Greg shifts tone just slightly, not serious, but mock serious. The kind that says, "Here comes a truth bomb dressed like a joke." You know the kind. He says De Niro keeps accusing Trump of being a bully, a threat to democracy. But Bob's entire political strategy consists of threatening to punch people and growling through interviews. Like he just got interrupted during a nap. If that's moral superiority, then I'm a vegan life coach. Cue laughter. And he keeps going. Let's do the math, and the irony. The glorious, roasted marshmallow of irony. The man made his fortune playing men who broke rules, hated authority, and challenged the system. And now he's the guy clutching his pearls because people don't agree with CNN. Gutfeld laughs as he says it.
That article that you sent me about the last nights of John Belushi and how De Niro was there and just basically partied with him and then split. And it's just like, that's now I just think of him as a really stupid guy.
Well, he's got The Irishman coming out. That looks pretty good.
I'm gonna go see it.
Yeah, we should go see it.
All right, you got De Niro, used to play mobsters who dealt with enemies by whacking them. Now he's threatening to punch people through cable news segments, as if that's going to restore the Republic. I've seen tougher threats on Yelp reviews of Taco Bell. And while we're here, let's address the acting. Look, we all respect his legacy, but lately, watching De Niro in interviews is like watching someone argue with a chair. The intensity is there, sure, but so is the confusion. And the chair's winning. Greg's face is pure amusement. De Niro keeps talking like he's auditioning for the role of angry man who solved America. But every rant sounds like an extended scene from Meet the Three, the midlife crisis at this point. Even people who agree with him politically are starting to go, "Bob, maybe just take a nap, or read a book, or yell into a pillow," anything but another interview where you sound like a furious audiobook left on shuffle. And still, Gutfeld isn't even mad. He's having the time of his life because roasting De Niro isn't hard. It's a sport.
Time to reflect on how Americans fought and died so that we may enjoy the freedoms guaranteed to us by a democratic government. A government that, as President Lincoln said, "Of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth." Under Trump, this kind of government will perish from the earth. I don't mean to scare you. No, wait, maybe I do mean to scare you. If Trump returns to the White House, you can kiss these freedoms.
It was cardio watching a grown man throw a tantrum in slow motion and calling it Shakespeare. Then Greg landed the final blow, not just a punch, but a punchline that stuck. De Niro thinks he's the conscience of America. He said, but he's not. He's the voicemail you skip, the ad you mute, the grandpa who tells the same war story only. Now he's wearing a resistance t-shirt and demanding applause. The truth. De Niro wasn't dismantled because of politics, he fell because he confused loudness with substance, rage with logic, and his legacy with a license to go unchallenged. But Gutfeld brought the challenge armed with sharper jokes than De Niro, recent reviews, and more clarity than any press rant Bob's ever mumbled through. De Niro brought anger. Gutfeld brought precision. De Niro swung with emotion. Gutfeld answered with facts and a grin. And in the end, it wasn't just Greg who landed the knockout. It was reality. And De Niro never even saw it coming.